There was a new admission by Boris Johnson that this could have all been solved in April 2022. Am I right?
You're right. Now, recall when Zelensky had that meltdown in the White House, when JD Vance said we should be engaging in diplomacy. And Zelensky said, what kind of diplomacy are you talking about, JD? And to make his case, Zelensky invoked the December 2019 agreement that he signed with Putin in Paris. And then he said it was Putin that did not live up to that agreement, which included a prisoner exchange and also implementing, finally, the long-stalled Minsk Accords, which was the pact brokered to bring an end to the fighting that erupted after the 2014 Maidan coup. And Zelensky said it was Putin that didn't live up to that agreement that they signed in December 2019. Well, Boris Johnson just gave an interview where he acknowledged that the problem that Zelensky faced was not Russia, was not Putin. It was Ukrainians. It was Ukrainian ultranationalists, the far right, the fascists, who stood in the way. And Boris Johnson, in a rare moment of accuracy, spilled the truth about exactly what the problem was.
You got to remember that Volodymyr Zelensky is not he's not an unreasonable guy. He got elected really as a peacenik. He was out that in 2019 he tried to do a deal with Putin. As far as I can remember, his basic problem was that the Ukrainian nationalists couldn't accept the compromise, and you can see why not. I mean, you got to remember that.
So there you go. He's accurately saying it was not Russia that was the problem in implementing that peace deal that Zelensky signed with Putin. It was Ukrainian nationalists, by which he means the ultra-right fascists, including the neo-Nazi Azov Battalion. And speaking of which, the other part he's leaving out is that he has welcomed the Azov Battalion as heroes. Here he is meeting with some Azov Battalion members, holding up their flag. And so for him to blame them for the breakdown of peace in Ukraine is not really fair, because he was on board with their agenda all along, as he's showing right here by meeting with them and showing their flag. But it's
kind of miss him.
Just go ahead.
I kind of miss him with Keir Starmer there. It's like you got a guy with the personality of a filing cabinet. Now, Boris Johnson was at least, it's like evil Chris Farley or something, sort of a little bit of joie de vivre to the neocon agenda. But if the Ukrainian counteroffensive had succeeded when we all knew it was going to fail, he wouldn't be making these kinds of admissions right now. He'd be taking credit for blocking Putin from imposing a peace, or he wouldn't be saying anything. But now it's been such a disaster. Now he's blaming all these other forces inside Ukraine for stymieing the agreement. But Boris Johnson was a force multiplier for the Ukrainian ultranationalists in stopping the Istanbul track of negotiations.
And that's what happens when you're a proxy. Your sponsors will always throw you under the bus. So now Boris Johnson is going to blame the Azov Battalion and the other Ukrainian ultranationalists, what he calls nationalists, for the failure of peace, when he was, as you pointed out, on board with their agenda all along. So they'll always throw you on. They'll use you. They'll promote you as heroes, like Zelensky and Azov as heroes, until you're no longer useful. And finally, when you're no longer useful, you become expendable. And now they can be blamed for the failure of peace. It's the same playbook every single time.